I keep hearing, I always like to hear or see this stuff when people are trying to preserve old buildings. I was in a town where the first McDonald's hamburger place where you go out and get hamburgers for 25 cents and get milkshakes for almost the same price. And for years, they had the first McDonald's hamburger as a little museum there. And they tore it down. Now, just down the street is a newer McDonald's hamburger place, but the old place, they tore it down. Why? The land's worth too much. And I look like people who try to historically save a building. It's, how old is the building? Why, it's 100 years old. Okay, it's 100 years old. Have you checked inside the building before you decide to save it, to preserve it? How much will it cost to save it? Why? Because you have to bring it up to code. Yes, code. You know what code is? Building codes. Yes. What does that mean? Well, I grew up in a house that didn't have building codes in it when it was put up. But my father knew what he was doing, so yeah. He put in wiring, right, and the plumbing. Yeah, so mechanical engineers. I don't know where he got the steel pipe from. When I put the copper pipe in there, I replaced all the steel pipe with copper, and I automatically replaced all the wiring in the place with 25 amp stuff. Of course, I only use 15 amp, and a lot of other stuff. And the place was, when it was built, was painted with lead paint. You in the summertime, you paint it with lead paint. You open a window on one place and you blow air through the whole place until you can't smell the linseed oil. Then it should be safe, I think. Brain damage. But again, the old saying is the house can be preserved. No, it's not. You go underneath the latex stuff there, that's lead paint. What was lead paint used for? Insecticide. It's like the green lumber they have. It's like copper sulfate in this stuff to kill fungus, and that's what most of the house is made out of. It has lead paint everywhere. So that thing, and what the walls are made out of again? Plasterboard. After World War II, they filled the filling for plasterboard. They put asbestos in the plastic board. Yes. Think about that when you decide to tear something or open something up. Yes. Of course, the shingles has asbestos in it too, or they used to have asbestos in it. So, yes. But let's try to preserve an old building. And there's some old buildings they wanted to preserve, and the thing where you walk in there, and the city's going to have the old movie theater preserved. Well, you go in there and you find out the electrical code is out of date, and you're going to have 25 amp breaker switches to everything else. Which in my place, I have breaker switches. I also have the little input fuses, which I happen to be running 15 amps through all my fuses. I'm cheap, okay? And they go in there and they look at the plumbing. It's out of code. Yes, the building's old. It's out of code. The whole little block section it was in, they had to replace everything. All the electric wiring was replaced, and all the plumbing was replaced to bring it up to code. And that's what the problem of a lot of buildings, to bring them up to code. A lot of the old buildings in your city that you're living in, depending how old your city is, has to be brought up to code. You go in there and you look at the circuit breakers, and you pull the circuit breakers out, and you look at the code. I can tell you something, how old your building is. If it's built before X number of years ago, before 1970, 1960, you might have electric wiring in there that is the fabric. Yes, these things were fabric. They're not plastic. That stuff is out of code, and if you put draw too much power for that, you have 120 volts. You can pull a lot of power, a lot of ampage off of a line. That's one of the reasons I have 15 amp circuits. But you can pull a lot of stuff, and I've done it before when I was a movie maker. Sit there with a 15 amp code and pull out 20 amps out of a line, and the stuff wouldn't break. The cords that I was using would get warm, meltable warm. So I would have to go in here and get the thicker lines to running stuff. And I do mean the thick movie cords, really thick ones. So basically, they're meant for 30 amp stuff, for safety reasons. But you check to find out how much you can pull out, which is very dangerous. Yeah, yes, and a lot of home fires are made because people put a lot of stuff. They pulled a lot of amperage out of that thing, and the wires inside the stuff start melting, and they can melt through that pipe that you've got. When they start sparking, they can go through the tubing pipe, for electrical pipe, and it has to be demonstrated to you for what they can do. They will burn, and they will burn all the way through, and they will short out your thing and still draw power. And I've seen it happen. The safety people in the fire department show exactly what this stuff can do, and they will pull the power, they will melt the cord, set anything on fire to the stuff, which you got flaming plastic going down, and houses catch on fire that way. Yeah. And yeah. Of course, you need a smoke alarm. I've got a smoke alarm in every room automatically. Oh, you change a battery, everything. It's either change a battery and have the smoke alarm work, or something goes wrong and you have a fire, and for $10, replace the smoke alarm. For $2, you replace the battery. But yeah, it's the thing. And they're going to build a casino in Chicago. Oh, well, no, they're building Obama's library in Chicago, and they're going to tear down all these old homes. Well, you can't tear down the old homes. Why, this home is 150 years old. Yes, it is, isn't it? Do you know what kind of plumbing you have? Is it copper? Is it steel? Or is it lead? A lot of buildings in Chicago have lead pipes in them. Physical lead pipes, because it was easy to put in. There wasn't cold. Then they replaced it with steel, and then they replaced it with copper. But yes, a lot of the buildings in Chicago should be torn down for the simple reason they're that old. When you go to a restaurant, maybe you want to look at the pipes, what they're pulling the water from. Yes. How old is the building? Yes. Is it up to code? Is it? And I've been in apartment buildings where it's not up to code. They do have lead pipes in them. Oh, this stuff is coated in the inside. Are you kidding? It's lead pipes. It's lead pipe. It's not steel. It's not copper, it's lead pipes. Don't give me your stuff about, oh, it's protected with this coating inside. Really? I don't know what you're smoking, but places filled with lead paint. It's not latex, it's lead. And you're working into a condition, you're going to do something in your kitchen or your bathroom. You bring a licensed contractor in here and see what he says and see what happens. A licensed union contractor will look at the stuff and saying, all this has to be replaced. You're out of code. Your electric has to be replaced. You're out of code. The whole building has to be replaced. You're out of code. Yeah. And would you really want to be in a feeder that's out of code with old wiring and old thing because it's historical? Really? Wow. Right. I guess your brain can be fried, but again, what am I going to do? I live in a teardown. Yeah. It's, it's over the track, on the other side of the track, on the other side of the road, down there where everything is, the house's paint is peeling, all that lead paint is coming off, peeling off, thing is faded, So somebody will come in there and say, I'm going to buy your house for you. Why, I want $300,000 for it. Well, I won't pay that. You get the money, and then you say, oh, by the way, make sure it's in code. You bought it as is. All the way to the bank. You pay me in cash? All the way to the bank. Thank you. Bye.